All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this training section. We're going to be talking about how to manage automations inside of ClientKit. Hey, how do you actually add people into automations in different ways, right? Can you do it manually? Yes. We're going to talk to you exactly about that because this is going to allow you to understand, hey, how do I add people to workflow automations? How do I take them out? What if there's an issue? What if I don't want them to be in this automation? That is exactly what we're going to go ahead and walk you through right now. There's going to be a couple different methods. We're going to talk to you right now. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. Number one is going to be via trigger that is an automatic trigger. So we've talked about this already, right? So in the previous training, we did set up the Brad Pitt automation on here. So this is going to be the automatic way that people can enter into automations, which is going to be via the trigger, right? So whenever this if trigger is met, then it is going to go ahead and fire the actual automation. But what if you are in a situation in which you're like, you know what? I want to go ahead and put this person into this automation, or maybe there is no trigger and I want them to be able to receive these, emails and text messages. How do I actually do that? Well, the first method here, this is the automatic method, right? This is like, cool, based off the trigger, they're going to get enrolled in here, right? But there is a different method. Let's go over method number 2, where let's say, for example, we go over to contacts and then I go over to LeBron James, right? Now, if I'm here under the contact page, what I can also do is right over here on the left side, right over here, let me go ahead and put this, right over here on the left side, and if I zoom in, you'll be able to see a little bit better, is you'll be able to go ahead and click on this right here, and then you can actually go ahead and add LeBron James into a specific workflow automatically. So you can select over here and say, you know what, I want to go ahead and add him into the Brad Pitt workflow that we had created previously. So even though LeBron James has not booked an appointment, let's say randomly, I don't know why I would want to do this, but this is just an example, I wanted to add LeBron James into this specific workflow. Well, I can do that by going and manually doing this. Now, I can also go ahead and add an event time if I wanted to, or I don't have to add an event time. I can just say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and add him directly into this workflow. Boom, it's going to add him in the workflow. I can refresh. And what you're going to notice now on the left side, wherever that workflow was, give it a second here to load. And then right over here, it will say past workflows. And you'll see that it means past because it has already finished executing this workflow right over here, right? So that Brad Pitt workflow has now moved from active into past. And then what you will see is that right over here, it should have sent him an email. Now, why didn't it send him an email? Let's go find out. So this is, again, where we learn how to troubleshoot. As we go over to automation, I'm going to go ahead and go over to the Brad Pitt automation here. You'll see that it does say 2 was enrolled, and you'll see that it did say that the LeBron James one was finished. If I look at the execution logs, it probably didn't actually send the email. So it says skip the email. Why did it skip the email, right? So it didn't actually send him the email because it doesn't look like I can see the email here. So what I can do is I can come over here and click on view details, which is really cool. And it'll say, hey, this was skipped. The email was skipped because you have an invalid email in there. Okay. So apparently trying to use celebrities' emails, kingjames@gmail.com is not working out too well for me inside of these demo accounts. But the point being is that if that was a valid email, then he would have actually received that email as a way to be able to go ahead and do this via the actual contacts page. Okay. So again, you can go ahead and manually add people into actual workflows through the contacts page, which is going to be another method or a good tool for you to use. Another way that you can do this under conversations. So if I go over to conversations, I go over to all, let's say I go over to Elon Musk, I can come over here, and right over here on the right side, you will see that it does allow me to say, hey, active campaigns and workflow. So right over here, I can click, and then right over here, I can now go in and actually add Elon into that Brad Pitt workflow as well if I really wanted to, right? So I can go ahead and do the exact same thing right over here, and I click on save, and then guess what? It's probably going to kick out as well. Oh, in this case, guess what? Mars for Life is an actual email. Who knew? So to go, hey, hi, Elon, this is, and then again, all of the custom values are not showing up, and then is on an invalid date. Why did it show up as an invalid date? Because obviously the actual trigger for this workflow is to actually go ahead and fire whenever there's an appointment. So Elon didn't book an appointment. That's why it's an invalid date. However, let's say, for example, I was going to go ahead and change this entire workflow and not be a appointment reminder workflow. This was going to be, let's say, a different type of workflow. There's so many different triggers that we could have set up, and that would be another way that I could have gone ahead and put Elon into this actual workflow. Okay, so that's going to be via the conversation tab is another way that you can go in and actually do that. The other way is going to be via the contact tab. So if I go over here and I go over to contacts, and then let's say, for example, I select Taylor Swift off of this, right? And then you are going to see that at the very top, there's like this robot icon that says add to a campaign or a workflow. I can go ahead and click on that. And then it'll allow me to say, okay, cool, this is going to take over a period of time because it's a bulk action. Okay, no problem. And then I can go ahead and select, hey, put Taylor Swift inside of this specific workflow. And then if I had multiple people that I was going to add into a workflow, I could go ahead and do a bulk action that way. And then I can go ahead and add them directly into that workflow that way also. So you'll see, I'm not going to go ahead and do this right now because at this point, apparently I am very bad at guessing what celebrities' email addresses are. So it probably is not going to send through, but I just want to go ahead and let you know, like, hey, when you actually have real data, like your own contacts, your own information, that's the reason why when we tell you to test, you're actually testing to see, hey, does this work? Because in the actual training, it's hard for me to show you A to Z, everything. We're doing our best, but it's very difficult because we don't actually have real life data here. But that's the reason why you can test this for yourself. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, is this all the methods of how you can actually go ahead and put people into automations? The answer to that is no, but you are going to come across more and more of those. And the reason why it's important to be familiar with all these different methods is because each one is going to be used differently as the ABCs Legos of your business. And so it's important for you to be familiar with this. And then, hey, like we've said many times before, all of your favorite apps are updating their UI all the time. The latest and greatest learnings are going to be happening in the community. So if things are working for you, make sure you're posting in the community. If things are not working for you, make sure you're posting in the community. Make sure that you are keeping up to date with the community as well. And then remember, there is a give and ask. So if you ask in the community, you also have to make sure that you are giving, because that is how the actual virtuous cycle works. You can't just ask, because then you will never actually receive either. Okay. So that is all going to be inside of the community as well. Make sure that you go in and actually test these different methods that we've talked about inside of the training. Make sure you pause. This is an action step. Don't be a failure uniform student, a wantrepreneur, wannabe entrepreneur. This is the reason why small business owners stay small, because they don't take the actions necessary in order to actually develop the skills that are going to allow them to be able to play business at a higher level. So it's not just about the knowledge, it's about the reps as well. So make sure you go out there and actually pause this training and go test this. Ladies and gentlemen, we have talked about a bunch of the different methods on how to actually manage automations inside of ClientKit. Go out there, take action. We're not 100% done just yet, because next up, we're going to go ahead and talk to you about how to actually create specific automations. But this has been this training section on how to go ahead and actually manage automations in ClientKit. We will catch you in the next training section.